We're Batman at 89.
Hello, and welcome once again to Batminute 89, the podcast where we analyze and scrutinize Tim Burton's 1989 Batman film, one scissoring minute at a time. I am one of the hosts, Niall McGowan.
And I'm another one, John Parker.
And today, it's like a movies by minutes podcast, rite of passage. Because this week, we're joined by the wonderful Crystal Beth.
I'm here. I made it.
Yay! This is how we know we've made it.
No.
Today we're talking about minute 52 of Tim Burton's Batman. Minute 52 begins with the Joker sorting through some photographs, and it ends 1 minute later with him forever twirling towards freedom. So might as well just jump straight in then.
Yes, let's go.
I just want to say I enjoy, though, because we have the Joker here sat cutting up, making his little collage here again. And I do enjoy in this shot that they've remembered to white up his wrists. Because a lot of the other shots you see of him, because he always has to wear the gloves, presumably because they don't want Jack Nicholson doing a Tobias and Arrested Development of just leaving white handprints everywhere. So they're having to but it just seems to be one of the shots where they're oh yeah, you can see his wrists. We better white that up as well. So someone had to come in and with a little dainty brush and do up Jack Nicholson's wrists.
I'm sure you appreciate that, Niall, because I remember you had a party once, and I came as Tobias from Arrested Development when he paints himself blue, and I was leaving
blue. Yourself?
I blew myself, and I was leaving blue marks all over Niall's house for the entire night, and he couldn't get rid of them for weeks.
I think it was you actually had you took a shower before you left just because it was getting so bad. I remember later that week just standing in my own shower looking over and seeing this blue handprint. It's this guy's been everywhere. What the hell's going on?
That's really funny. I had a friend that was dressed as a unicorn once, and she was just completely all white, and I had white all over because she kept hugging me, and my leather coat that I was wearing was just all white after. I was like,
what were you
Oops.
What were you dressed as, if we can ask?
I was dressed as censorship.
Oh.
So I had no shirt on and just tape over my nipples and a boat on my head that said #free the nipple. And I was censorship.
Censorship.
Oh, I get you.
Yeah, but I put on a leather coat because if I went to a bar, I wouldn't be let in because I didn't have a shirt on.
Yeah. Well, theoretically, yes. But
Well, it depends what kind of bar it is. I mean, they might
Yeah,
let you
right?
in more.
But anyway, the Joker starts rifling through the photos, and he has first one it comes across is who is this loss, and it's Knox, and Knox seems to have stood and posed for this photo for some reason.
Yes.
It's
very professional, isn't it? It's a proper well taken shot of Knox. Bob must have one hell of a camera.
It's either that or he just flat out walked up to him and was just "Excuse me, sir, can I just take your photo, please?"
Yeah, it's a headshot.
Yeah, maybe he pretended he was doing street fashion photography, like you get a lot in Japan.
Oh, could have been.
Yes, I love your look.
It reminded me very much of because it's one of those things it's blatantly, it's just actually an actual publicity shot they have of Robert Wool that they're just throw that in. And it's you see that loads in TV and film where in the background they'll have family, it was supposed to be photographs of people who are close to them, and it's obviously publicity shots from other things.
Yeah.
And I remember there was an episode of Friends where it's that one where Ross moves in across the apartment across from Monica, across the street, and you can see in through the window. And they're trying to keep him distracted, and they're oh no, we've borrowed these from Joey, and it's 2 cardboard cutouts of Jennifer Aniston and Courtney Cox, and it's very blatantly publicity photos. And you watch that, and the reality of the show is completely shattered. Because it's why would they have giant cardboard cutouts of themselves? And why would the photos be of that quality? And what are they posing for? It's just bizarre. But
I thought everybody had that of themselves. I've got about 50 of them in the house. I've been trying to get rid of them for months.
I know, it's every goddamn birthday. It's actually every guest in the podcast is actually getting sent one of those. So, Crystal, make sure to turn your postman away when you see him coming with what looks like a 2-dimensional life-size man tucked under his arm.
Oh, no. I'll keep that. We need to decorate our bathroom a little bit more, so I'll just put that right in there.
But
Well, speaking of decorations, though, I like what the Joker's done with this room. He's put up these sort of lovely purple drapes.
Oh,
he's really sticking to this purple theme now. He's going all in.
yeah,
Yeah.
he's had this before he's even the Joker. Like, he was rocking that purple suit, this Jack Napier, and I was like, apparently the goons' jackets are supposed to be purple as well. Although they always looked like navy to me, but apparently,
Yeah, they're navy.
yeah. In the notes it says like in the like interviews with people who played the goons were like, oh no, it was like turquoise jewelry and a purple leather jacket. I was like, I guess
Oh.
maybe just the
Yeah, it's like that deep purple. It's that nice good purple that could look black sometimes.
yeah. I was going to try to make some kind of deep purple joke there, but I was just like, I'm gonna get in smoke on the water. Like, this isn't gonna work at all. But
Yeah, I don't know enough of their songs to make a gag there.
What I always find interesting is when you're in the villain's lair, the decor it always makes me think, because they have to decorate that. So there are scenes that are not in this movie of him going to fabric shops and finding the right fabric to be able to drape and being like, ooh, this will suit my lair perfectly. And having to like go through and shop like that. And they have to go to the toy store and buy the bucket that the paintbrushes are in and all that stuff. So even if you're getting the henchmen to do that, you've got henchmen that are in their little outfits at like Michael's fabric store.
Going, oh, Joker would love this. Yeah.
Yeah, like looking, because everyone is always asking people questions in stores like that too, where you're like, does this color go with this color? I've been going to a lot of craft stores lately, and I could just picture them going up to this little old lady and being like, do you think in a dim light this purple would really pop next to this purple?
Oh, yes, it would look lovely.
But it looks great. Very good interior design. Good feng shui.
Oh, yeah. Well, and coming off what you said, I mean, it's not like even these days he could just go on the internet. He could be in bed. It could be midnight. He's just on his phone picking stuff. But this is presumably, I mean, it's very timeless, but we presume it's in the 80s since there's all this Prince music going on. So, you know, he definitely has not got internet access to buy these kinds of things. So someone is going to the store.
but it's the image of the Joker on his phone lying in bed, but it's the fact that he always has those gloves on. So I imagine him like trying to tap with the gloves and then like, oh, for God's sake, and have to like bite them off with his teeth and stuff.
Or do you think he's got those special gloves you can buy where touchscreen phones work with them? Have you seen those? They have like a little grip on the fingers.
Oh no,
Yes.
I'm unfamiliar with them.
I have a pair. I used
Hey.
to cut the tip off of my gloves, or like make a tiny little hole. But then I found that as long as they had that like weird magnetic fabric or whatever, you can, as long as they're very slender and formed to your finger, you can use your phone. And then I also realized that maybe I can just leave my phone in my bag while I'm walking around.
Yeah.
Don't need to have it out.
And not have your headphones on, Crystal? You crazy?
Oh, I know.
Jeez. I had a question as well, actually. Sorry about this. Because you said, you know, who's that loss?
Yeah.
He says. Right. Am I stupid? I've not heard that phrase before. Is that an insult?
Well, that's the thing. Like this whole minute is full of phrases that I think Jack Nicholson just made up. Because like this thing's coming up later, and I'm like, what? Who says that? But no, like who was that loss? I guess it's kind of a variation on who was this loser. But I don't know.
Yeah,
Maybe it's just like he didn't think that had enough punch or something. I don't know.
But as we've said in previous minutes, you don't argue with Jack.
No.
If Jack Nicholson improvises some lines, you just roll with it, I think.
Oh yeah, pretty much.
Exactly. I was thinking that they that he just pronounced louse weird.
Ah.
Like they, if you're talking quickly, I always thought loss was close to louse.
Yeah.
And if you just mispronounce one of the sounds, that's what it came out with. Because people do call each other louses.
Yeah.
Maybe maybe that was what he was going for, but at the same thing, that mentality though is like, well, this word sounds like this word if you mispronounce it, so it's like you could do that with anything, really. But the other thing, we do then have the Joker returning to his usual form of just instantly passing judgment flippantly on someone, and but like, cause either loss or louse, and then this business of like, oh, bad tie, no style. And it's kind of like, it just looks like, to me, like it's just like a black tie. And
Yeah.
but you can't really tell because the photo's in black and white. So as far as the Joker knows, that could be like a lime green tie or anything. It could have been, well, maybe not lime green, but it might have been like a a rich burgundy or something. That could have been a tie he actually likes, but he can't tell because it's in black and white.
Yeah, well, in the 80s, those fat ties were in, and that does look like a skinny tie. So maybe he was like, hey, tie's not fat enough. Your fashion backwards.
No, I thought Knox looked pretty nice. Like, that's a good suit. Compared to what people mostly wear these days, at least, you know. I mean, he's looking pretty stylish. If I turned up to work in that, people would be like, oh, you know, what's the occasion?
It could be like that the Joker's just so used to like... Or his preference is obviously very like loud and flamboyant things. So even if it was just a black tie, he's like, well, that's rubbish. Like that's, you know, there's no style to that at all. So I kind of get that maybe, but
it's got to be neon pink or something. Yeah,
or it's at least got to have like, you know, he's dressed up as goons and jackets that have his face on them. So he's like, well, this hasn't got my face on it. What the hell's this? You know. One thing I do like that they've changed, presumably for the sake of, you know, Jack Nicholson's age. Is that in the original script, the Joker's actually like laying down on the floor like a kid. Like he's probably laying down with like his glue stick and making this little collage. And it has a whole thing about like they actually say he's literally like a child at play. But it's all pictures cut out from Vicki Vale's Cordo Maltese coverage. So like I imagine like them coming out with Jack and him being like, I'm 52. Like I'm not gonna be able to hop up and then hop straight back down. Unless you want the Joker to be like, I'll see you, Bob. Going.
Like, Jack, don't lay down for anybody.
So this is like, well, I guess he could sit. You know, that makes sense. The Joker sits, you know.
I would have been interested to see them film it with him on his stomach with his feet in the air, like swinging his feet, and then maybe do a cut to not have to see him get up. But I think it would have been interesting to have him acting childish for a second.
Yeah, he could have been on the phone and he'd be twirling the phone cable around his finger.
Yeah, like a hamburger phone.
Yeah.
But I do think like there's that's another thing, because I think we brought up from the original script as well that like when Eckhart meets Napier, he seemed a little more agile as well because he was like up in the car bonnet swinging his legs and he could give him this like very childish wave and stuff. But I think it could have been just, you know, whatever interpretation of the, you know, they tried to tone down the character in that regard because they had him been a bit more, I don't know, light on his feet and stuff. It could have just well been like, guy's 52, you know. It's and that's not to say that there's not, you know, spry 52-year-olds, but Jack Nicholson in '89 was not one of them. Like it doesn't look like he was anyway.
No.
But
he was one of those sitter actors, ones that just sit. He's very good at sitting. He's like, I act with my face for a reason.
There are lots of scenes of him seated, actually. I hadn't thought about that.
Yeah.
It's a bit like the Fast and the Furious franchise. Almost every time you see Vin Diesel, he's seated. He saves the world. Seated. Repeatedly.
But anyway, we do then get... he dismisses Knox's photo, and then he moves on to, you know, a shot of Vicki Vale. And again, we might as well ask your opinion, Crystal, because everyone and their mother has an opinion on Vicki's hat in this scene. What do you make of this? This, you know, well, I called it like a goth version of Toad from Mario Kart. She's going for this cat that's just swallowing her head.
I feel like that hat's a good hat if you need to find a place to store some snacks. It's just like big and slouchy and just so 80s. The late 80s had the weirdest hat trends, especially for women. I mean, as you can see through this entire movie. But I definitely had one. Definitely had that hat.
Oh.
And did you sneak snacks into the movie theater underneath the hat?
No, unfortunately. I should have. But it was a very lovely purple, the hat that I had.
Oh, purple again?
It was. I used to shove my hair up into it and be like, look, I don't have hair, because kids are stupid.
But like purple makes it sound a bit more like the kind of artist hat that the Joker has later on in this very film. So like,
oh yeah,
yeah, it was very similar to that, except cotton and not that luxurious silk.
Yeah, he's got a bit of a silk thing going on, hasn't he? Because his shirt here looks like a silk kind of material.
I think like pretty much every shirt he has in the film is silk.
Yeah,
it could have been another one of Jack's contract stipulations. Is like, I'm not wearing any cotton shirts. You want Jack?
Listen,
you get the best. You know,
you're
And he
gonna
gets-
let me sit, and my skin is going to be up against the most soft fabric you can find.
I mean, like, who dressed this guy anyway? Was it Prince himself who turned up and donated some of the attire?
But anyway, yeah, we get, the Joker lights up. This is love at first sight when he sees, presumably it's Vicki Vale. It's not the man very behind her blatantly trying to not look at the camera, but so it could have been a missing scene of the Joker being like, oh, who's that guy? And then Bob been like, I don't know. Oh, who's this woman then? It's like, oh, it's Vicki Vale. Oh my God, she's great as well. But
Well, actually, once Joker decides he's very taken with Vicki almost instantaneously, we get a considerable more amount of dialogue here from old Silent Bob. He seems to just turn into Chatty Bob.
yeah. It could be like he's become the Joker's Alfred, because Alfred's desperately trying to get Bruce together with Vicki. Bob's just like, this guy, like, he's had a tough time turning into like crazy clown guy. Like, maybe if I hook him up with someone. And so he's taking a picture of Vicki Vale. It's like, this looks like someone he'll like. So he's probably standing there like, you like her, right, don't you, boss? And it's like really trying to, he's just doing all the old Alfred maneuvers, but he's just a little bit too late. Because as we discover now, like, as they're talking, Bob says like, oh, he describes like, oh, this is Vicki Vale, the photographer working with Knox. And then like, oh, she's dating some guy named Wayne, which is major news considering that Vicki Vale and Bruce Wayne went on one date. It was in his house.
Yeah, in secret, yeah.
Yeah, no one saw them. How does Bob know that they're dating? When
He's a great detective.
Yeah, it's like he's obviously been doing some digging. Because even at
Well,
that,
there's probably a lot of hot goss in the city, you know?
It's a bit presumptuous, though, because, as you say, there was one day in Bruce's house, and as soon as it was over, like the following day, he's basically tried to kick Vicki out and get rid of her, we've established, as we've gone on.
Yep.
He is not interested in this relationship any further.
maybe not like Bob, like after everything happened, he just like, oh, the hell with this. I'm just going to go over and ask these people what's going on. So that's how he got that photo of Knox. And then Vicki was like, yes, I'm Vicki Vale. I'm working with him. I'm dating Bruce Wayne. And it's just like, oh, you should. I'd never heard anything about it. Yes, me and Bruce Wayne are, we're a love torn from the pages of the greatest romance novels. We're going to be together forever, okay? And Bob's just like,
or maybe he was, because Knox was loud about her going on a date with Bruce Wayne. Maybe he was talking about it to someone in town.
Ah.
could have been
And like, oh, I'm trying to get this work done. Can't, Vicky's out dating a dude, and guys, she's out with Bruce Wayne. We met him once and then got a date. Oh man, I want to date her, but I can't. Maybe that's what's happening.
It could be like he just flat out told Bob this himself when he obviously stood to pose for this photo. Like he's just like,
Yeah.
there's a guy taking a photo. Like I bet maybe he wants some help. Just wanders over. Like, hello, good
I
sir.
have a question for you guys.
Oh, yeah.
What is Silent Bob writing? What is he taking notes on? Because he's the one that's informing the Joker on things. So what is he taking notes on his knowledge?
Right, that's a good question because I have made a note for this minute. My very next note is, why is Bob taking notes?
Yeah.
I don't know. What is he writing down? I don't understand. Because it would make sense if Joker's giving him instructions. Like, I want you to go to Vicki. I want you to do this, to do that. But that's not happening.
No, not at all. He's literally like, oh, I've got an idea for a poem. Or he's like, a stand-up idea. This would be funny. Henchman walks into fabric store trying to find fabrics.
It could be like he's it's just like since he's trying to get Jack some help because like, oh, he's turned completely nuts here and he's gone to like a therapist. He's like, make a note of like everything weird that he does. So he just has this perpetual notebook coming out of just like, okay, he's come out with this term Jesus Marimba, which no one says.
Right, I actually Googled Jesus Marimba.
Yeah,
thinking,
so did I,
that must be a reference to something. Turns out it's not.
Yeah, not at all. But the first thing that comes up in Google is just a reference to Batman. So it's like he seems to have just come up with this phrase himself. But
I think he's made that up because I mean the vibe I got from it was kind of like an oh my, like oh my god, she's gorgeous, but it doesn't seem to be in use by anyone on the planet.
No, not at all.
No, I had not heard that from anyone else unless they were making fun of quoting this movie.
Yes.
But I did find though that obviously Jesus is just like a Mexican name. even just a Spanish name. I'm not too sure exactly where it originates from. But and then a marimba is a xylophone-esque instrument, which is the thing, you know, the music from True Romance and Badlands, that kind of xylophone sounding thing. That apparently is a marimba. So that's okay. So I guess it kind of, you know, unless they were thinking of Badlands and this was like this is like an illicit romance he's trying to start. I guess you could link it back to that, but I don't think so. So,
well, we know he's not all
I work
there.
with 2 people named Jesus.
Oh.
Ah.
So it always makes me think of Die Hard with a Vengeance, though, because that bit where like, when he meets Samuel L. Jackson and his whole thing is just like, so Jesus, like, what are we doing? He's like, well, you keep saying Jesus to me for, and he's just like, that guy said to you, hey Zeus. He said, hey Zeus, my name is Zeus.
Zeus. I love that part. He said, hey Zeus.
Oh, Jesus isn't really a name you hear in England much, is it?
Not at all, no. But
Oh, that's interesting.
but then
There's a lot in New York.
Yeah, I'm sure we have very strange names that people haven't really heard of too much.
Clive. I think so.
Niall.
Yeah, there you go.
Niall, yep. That's the name of our bartender, but he's Irish.
Oh,
Hey.
oh, really? Oh, I'm happy to hear that. One of us made it over there. It's like,
They did.
dreams
I think a
can come
lot
true.
of you made it over there, Niall.
We just had that one guy from One Direction. He was the one famous Niall. It's like, oh my God, we finally made it.
I didn't even know one of them was called Niall. I'll be honest. That's how little I know about that group. Are they even a
I
group?
love them. They're my favorite. I saw them on SNL, and I love them.
Oh.
And One Direction's the best.
I do have to say, like, I only know it because one of them has my name. So that's like,
That's
we've
it.
got- like me and the Niall Society, we have like our feelers out for like every time. There was Niall Buggy who was in Father Ted, but he didn't break through. Like we were all hoping, we were all rooting for him, and it just never happened. But
Well, sadly, the John Society is far too big. I keep getting messages every 5 seconds about these things.
But anyway, we'll go back to some of the other weird phrasing or weird phrases that the Joker comes out with here, because he has this, a lovely beast like that walking around, which is then calling Vicki Vale a beast straight away, which is like a weird compliment.
My question was, what woman wants to be referred to as a beast?
Yeah.
That sounds a bit strange.
If someone was to put the word sexual in front of it, I would be okay with it.
That's the important part, isn't it?
Right.
He's preempting that. It's like, I'm hoping that she's a sexual beast, but I've not got to that point in the relationship yet. With this relationship that just started 2 seconds ago. So.
Via photograph.
Yeah. But to be fair to him, though, it is kind of called back later, because remember at the end of the film, he does the whole, we're Beauty and the Beast, but of course, if anyone else calls you Beast, I'll rip their lungs out. Which is another weird thing, that Jack Napier's obsessed with lungs, which I think we pointed that out before as well. So beasts and lungs with this guy. That's all that's his thing.
Yeah, but
So.
I like the way as well there. I know we've jumped far ahead in the film, but that means he's basically referencing himself. You don't do that.
Yeah, no.
But I don't know. Well, I think maybe he's just trying out like the same material. He's just like, oh. So remember there's a thing of it's one of the ones that's always really bugged me. But like there's a Batman animated film called Under the Red Hood, and it's about the whole thing of like the Joker killed Jason Todd, and then years later the Red Hood, who was the person that the Joker was before he was the Joker in the comics at least, he reappears, and then at the end of the film it turns out like, oh, it's Jason Todd, and he's back for revenge. But like every time the Red Hood is mentioned to the Joker in that film, he's all like, oh yeah, I used to wear that outfit. Like mine was more swanky maitre d' than motorcycle fetish, because the Red Hood wears like a leather jacket. And then he says that once, and then later on in the film, he says it again to like the Red Hood. And it's like, is he just using the same material to see if he can get like, oh, that didn't get a laugh last time, but it's gonna work now.
You've got to trial your jokes. You can't just go straight in. You've got to test it out with different audiences.
Yeah. It's like the next Batman podcast, Crystal comes on, it's all the same material. She's just workshopped it with us. It's like,
Right? You guys have found me out.
Oh, we're on to you.
So we just be like, hey, look at that guy's hat in the background. Like,
Well, actually, there was something I was going to bring up about the hat again. One last thing about the hat. Because the Joker seems very taken by the hat. So we know what side of the fence he's on with regards to it, because he does actually comment on on her fashion choices. He says that girl has style. So he's really digging that hat.
And that's why he got the hat. His painter hat. He was like, this looks like hers. I have to get this, while he was shopping at the hat store.
Well, that's a bit of an interesting way of doing things. I'm sure to woo a lady, a lot of people might say they're into like her favorite band or something. So he's gone, right, I'm going to woo her by dressing like her. That's a new one.
It could be that there's a deleted couple of seconds and that this answers what Bob is writing down. Because he's just, maybe there was a little bit of the Joker going, I want a hat like that, Bob. He's like, can you pick me up one? He's like, oh yeah, sure. He's like, yeah, hat, 58 centimeters. Try to get it in silk and purple, okay? And Bob's like, yeah, no problem.
Where do you even purchase these things? We're getting ahead of ourselves again. God damn it.
But save it.
Save it.
But then he does this. Which was a phrase that does make sense, but it's a bit weird. It's still the whole put steam in a man's strides, which is I've never heard that from anyone else either. But
Yeah.
And then he starts cutting up the picture, but he does this it's hard to stay inside the lines. He's not even trying. Like, you look at him, it's like, this is the most haphazard cutting I've ever seen.
What's really funny is that you say that, but when I was watching it, I was like, wow, he's cutting really good for how fast he's cutting.
Yes, yeah.
There's a very fluid motion to it, and for some reason, I'm like missed cutting class in preschool or something, because when I cut, I always get those little extra frays on the side because I'll realign my cutting, but after I've cut. So anytime I see someone cutting something that's very smooth, I'm like, how are you doing it? And how sharp are those scissors?
Yeah, and I always mess it up. Always. I'm the same as you. So when I see someone doing it, I get really anxious. Like, oh no, they're going to ruin it. They're going to ruin the photo. But no, he's done fine.
And it's smooth. And I'm just looking at the edges as he's cutting them off. It's like it's very smooth. There's no hard corners. And that would look great on a collage.
But, as we can see,
collage.
On the table and the floor, though, he has just done about 7,000 of these things. So he's a bit of a master, isn't he? He's spent all night doing it. He's a master scrapbooker.
You think that Jack Nicholson, though, that he go, despite his usual, I'll fall asleep in the makeup chair and I'll make sure I get all of my Lakers games off. And, every time it's not a close-up, I want to stand in instead. Did he go method for this bit? Is I'll cut out all the photos. Don't worry about that. I want to get into that part of the character. So
right, probably.
So it's that's the one bit where he stepped up. He's like, I'm earning my 10 million. So
another one of those things that it's like thinking about what fun he would have had to lacquer all those pictures to the floor.
Yeah,
it does look later on like they are glued to the floor, like when he stands up.
Yeah,
because they're not like you think like the swoosh of his coattails would get one of them to fly up or something, but they are stuck down. So
he spins around on him. I know that's the next minute, and again, getting ahead of ourselves.
Yeah.
Well, I have a question next, because when Bob reveals to him that Vicki is seeing some guy named Wayne, Joker says, oh, she's about to trade up, which I thought was really cocky of him. So, Crystal, who is better, Michael Keaton or Jack Nicholson?
Michael Keaton.
What?
Yes.
Yes. Well, I might as well just ask this, right? Because we've been asking a lot of the female guests we've had on. We should just ask everyone, I guess. But, I was always under the impression when I was younger that Jack Nicholson was regarded as a sexy man. And at least back in back in the 70s, people thought Jack Nicholson was sexy. But
this is one of those times that I wish that we were on camera so you could see my face, and I don't think you'd need any other answer. No.
Oh my God! So I really hope that Jack never listens, because the amount of people who have been like, good God, no, he's not.
I don't know. We've had a couple of people say he has a charm, at least, and they
he
probably
does have
would,
a charm. He 100% has a charm, and he's not unattractive. But he's got the crazy that's not the attractive kind of crazy. It's the, oh no, you're crazy, which luckily I didn't have, any crazy boyfriend problems when I was younger, so I'm not attracted to that in a sad, sick way. I'm in that's a stay away from that type feeling.
Yeah,
I'm like, no.
I find him kind of creepy. I'll be honest. Not to be
he's
too cruel to
creepy.
him. Yeah.
But that's also the character he plays. In every movie, he plays a creepy dude.
Yeah, well, yeah. 99% of the time, he is a creepy kind of guy. But do you think that's his personal side coming in, and they just implement it, like put it into the character?
Yeah. I look at him at the Oscars when he's sitting there in the front row with his sunglasses on still, just smiling wickedly at everyone and like doing one-liners that no one can hear because he doesn't have a microphone. Yeah, he's a little weird.
The last time I remember seeing him at the Oscars was that I could never tell what her reaction actually was. Because remember, it was Jennifer Lawrence was getting interviewed, and Jack kind of sidled up next to her, and he said something, and it seemed like it was a bit like he was kind of coming on to her a little bit. Like he paid her some kind of, and then afterwards she was like, okay, great. And she turned to the camera and was like, oh my God. I could never tell, is that like a horrified, holy crap, this creepy old man just tried to come on to me? Or was she like, oh my God, Jack Nicholson just tried to come on to me? Or was it
probably a bit of both?
Yeah, imagine it's a bit of both. Because like even no matter how reviled or repulsed you are by him, it would still be like, oh, I guess I could do Jack Nicholson because he seems up for it. And then that would be a thing I could say to people that I did Jack Nicholson. So
we all know Michael Keaton is the best out of the two. Come on. Those beautiful lips.
Oh, yeah.
He's the man.
I was just going to say that. Them lips.
to be fair,
the
though,
bow tie right on his face.
in terms of actual characters, though, it's like this. Vicki now has the choice between hapless reporter guy who won't, who's just going way beyond personal and professional boundaries where he should really know to back off. Billionaire guy who, they had a fling one time, and then he lied to her to get her out of his house, and now she's stalking him. And crazy clown guy who's now obsessed with her from one picture he saw. So
this poor woman.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
But Vicky's like, go back to Corto Maltese. It's much safer for you over there, at least. But anyway, then after this we get actually, one last thing though about this whole it's hard to stay inside the lines. Is this supposed to be saying she's really curvy? Is that the joke?
Oh, okay. Because I didn't think about that. Yeah.
Because she's like,
neither did I.
She's just wearing like a black. Well, we saw in the minutes it was like a kind of black cloak, which is not curvy at all. And this photo of her isn't curvy either. But I guess it's just a little chuckle because Bob has to give him like a courtesy chuckle afterwards of like. The Joker starts laughing, and then Bob has a little, like kind of a split second too late later. They'd be like, oh,
Bob.
He thinks it's funny. I better laugh along, So
yeah, you can tell Bob doesn't really know why he's laughing.
Bob doesn't know why he's there. Bob's like, oh gosh, I don't want him to kill me. I have to seem useful. Let me take notes and laugh.
Yeah, basically. He's got nowhere else to be, Bob, anyway. We get the impression from this that maybe he's grown up with the Joker. They were like low-rent mobsters on the street or something. So he's sticking with this guy because he's got nothing else to do.
Yeah.
Yep.
But then afterwards we get like, what comes up to be the Joker's most questionable phrase of this.
Oh, yes.
I'm of a mind to make some mooky. Which is like, it's only in recent years when I was a kid, that line went over my head. I didn't even try to research what he was saying because it was just like, I don't know what that means. And now it is still like, I think he's like, instead of mooky, it should be nookie because I've heard of people making nookie. But like, I think Jack was like, I'm still hip with the kids. I'll throw this phrase in. And then it was just like, nope, you got it wrong, old man.
Well, again, I thought that would be a reference to something. So I tried to research it and there was nothing at all. But the clue, I thought, was that Prince samples that line at the start of Vicky's Waiting, which indicates to me, I mean, this is Prince. Prince has a one-track mind. So we definitely know what he's talking about, 100%.
Wait, then we get the Joker doing this, I've got a new girl, Bobby. And I'm of a mind to make some mookie. And then kind of just this very kind of chuckling to himself and then a very quick phone book. Like he just switches modes into instantly like, right, get me the phone book. But now it's like, we'll get into what exactly this phone call is in later minutes when it sort of becomes relevant. But presumably she's ringing up Vicki Vale to make a date to get her to the museum in a bit. But I can't imagine the Joker himself doing that plausibly. Like that seems like he's too crazy, and he would mess that up. Like he'd end up saying something really weird and creepy, And then,
Yeah.
or unless he just like turns into a proper like little boy on the phone, he's just like, is this Vicki Vale? And she's just like, what?
He just breathes into the phone and hangs up. He's like, click.
That was the experience of most of our podcast guests actually with the first couple of weeks. But
that's pretty accurate for how we do the show in general.
Yeah. But I'm assuming then it would be Bob would get the phone book, and then it's gonna be like, Bob, you make the phone call because like you're my underling and you do what I tell you to do. But even then, it's just like, imagine that one of them, it's like having to pretend to be like Alfred or someone, be like, Ms Vale, Master Wayne knows he lied to you about, because the whole, what was this conversation? Because even they don't know about the lying, and they probably don't even know who Alfred is. So it's like, how did this conversation to set up what happens on this phone call go? But
it's a very, very good question, actually. Yeah, I'd like to see that.
But anywho, Bob, very content. It seems to be a man genuinely enjoying his work for once, of doing his yes sir kind of, and then happily struts off to go get the phone book. And then Jack repeats this what he said in the previous minute. This like, so much to do in so little time. The guy's obsessed with callbacks because he's already said this. The dance of the devil in the pale moonlight, like, Eckhart, think of the future, all that. Guy loves calling back to things. That's his whole thing.
Things that he said. You don't do that.
Yeah.
You can't reference yourself.
The whole thing with Grissom and like, you're my number one guy. It's like, Bob wasn't there. He doesn't get that. He doesn't get the reference. But
Did you guys know that the phone book is officially not being printed anymore in the U.S.?
Really?
Oh, okay.
I didn't.
There are people that are going to watch this that aren't going to have any idea what they're talking about.
Oh, my God. Oh, that's creepy.
Isn't that crazy?
I think you can still get one here, but I actually haven't had one. They used to just send it to your house without you asking.
Yeah.
And I don't remember the last time that happened, to be honest. That must be a good few years ago.
It's a waste of trees, so I'm glad they're stopping.
Oh, yeah, I never looked in it. After, 1995 or something. I think that's the last time.
I used to use it to find the addresses of boys I had crushes on. And then I would tell my mom that I was interested in seeing that neighborhood because I loved real estate. And I learned a lot about houses so that I could walk by and be like, ooh, look at that. A Dutch colonial with an inverted roof and a inverted garage or whatever. I don't even remember anything anymore, but I was a little creep.
She probably thought it was helping a future career. Like, I'm nurturing her in this role.
It's like,
yep, my stalker career.
So I'm guessing, Crystal, you found quite a kinship with Vicki Vale in this film in terms of like, I'm just going to stalk the guy who I'm interested in.
Yeah. I was like, yeah, that's how you get him. That's how I got my boyfriend.
That's a bit. He'd be listening in, and this was like, I do remember seeing this woman with glasses for like a year up until I met Crystal. This was lurking in the background of things, but I never made the connection. But anywho, but like that's then we get, of course, we mentioned earlier, the Joker starts this twirl of spinning around to "Beautiful Dreamer," which is playing on the soundtrack.
Well, and he's clasping Vicky's picture to his breast. Oh,
such love.
But that's all it for the actual action of the minute, though. So unless anyone else has anything else they want to bring to the table.
No, that's it for me.
Yeah. That wraps it all up. I'm sure all of our listeners know who you are, Crystal. But before we do depart into that dark night, would you like to promote anything of yours? Anything and everything?
Sure. If you want to listen to my Movies by Minute podcast, I do one about The Fifth Element. It's called The Fifth Eleminute, and you can find that on iTunes. And I also have a video game podcast called Unlimited Lives Radio, also on iTunes. And we stream live on Twitch every Thursday at 6 p.m. And you can follow me on Twitter at TheCrystalBeth and Instagram as well. Same name. Everything is TheCrystalBeth. I am lucky.
You actually got what you wanted. Yeah, that's rare these days,
My name.
But make sure to check all those out because they're all fantastic. And check us out on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and Tumblr. I can't be bothered going through all that today. You know it by now. Just look at Batminute89. We're the only one. And get in touch on the Batminute89 Listeners Society as well because there's always some good bat chat going on there. And make sure to join us again on Wednesday because we will be back for minute 53 of Batman.
Next time, Shinnerstal shipping. As our monstrous Merry Andrew makes ready his murderous machinations, which muckraking news station will report on some merry-mugged post-mortem models? Find out Wednesday, same bat pod.
Different Bat Minute.